top 5 current portal targets. Let me say this, guys, current. They're in the portal now, not guys we wish. We kind of already did that list. And we do think there will be some guys getting in the portal that Texas will definitely be involved with. But again, current portal target. So, Gerald, give me your 5th current portal target right now for Texas.
Yeah, Florida State linebacker Omar Graham is a guy who I would love to see at Texas. Texas needs to add a body at linebacker. They've got obviously Anthony Hill going to the NFL, Leonga Leifau transferring to we don't know where, transferring out. But so Texas needs to probably add a starter quality linebacker in this portal class. And Graham is a really good linebacker. Again, I don't know how his athletic profile fits into what Will Muschamp is going to want, but ultimately when you look at like the linebackers in the portal and you look at like the top guys, I think he's probably the closest to one that fits in the system. So I'd like to see him or again, a replacement level linebacker, depending on who jumps in.
There was someone today, I forget who, it might have been the Baylor guy, but they had 200 tackles in the past 2 years. I'd be interested in that guy. I honestly don't know much about Omar Graham. That was one position. Honestly, I probably should have looked a little bit harder. Right now, there hasn't been anyone on like my radar that I think Texas like, oh yeah, we desperately need that guy. But I mean, I completely agree. We definitely need a linebacker for sure. Number 5 for me is Malcolm Simmons from Auburn. He's one of those guys that honestly, other than Cam Coleman, he was probably their second best wide receiver. 25 receptions, 457 yards, 2 touchdowns, 18.3 yards per catch, 6 foot, 186 pounds. He's one of those guys that can take the top off the defense. He played very well in the Iron Bowl. I was very impressed by him. I think he's definitely a take for Texas. And at this point, guys, from everything we're hearing, I just don't think Texas is going to go all in on a number 1 wide receiver. I think they're going to try to go and get more of a 2 in here, and I think Malcolm Simmons could be a number 2 in this system.
Yeah, I have a number 1 receiver at higher up in my list, so we'll leave that there. But yeah, you're probably right. I still think Texas probably should go for a number 1 in the portal, but based upon what we're seeing, they probably won't. So I think he's a solid guy. And again, Texas has a lot of solid guys. So I think adding another one to the roster, let Arch kind of spread the ball around, keep things open, keep the rotation going, I think is not a bad move.
No, and I agree with you. I wish they would go all in on a number 1 wide receiver. It's just everything that's come out, I don't think that's the case. Unless there might be someone they absolutely love that they don't expect to jump in the portal that jumps in the portal. But right now, I just don't think they're in love with anyone, and I don't think they're going to overpay or to try to get someone in the portal like a Cam Coleman or anyone like that. So who's your number 4?
My number 4, Tennessee safety Boo Carter. I think Texas probably needs to add again just an experienced starter level safety. And Boo Carter's probably the best one in the portal right now. Again, I would be fine if Texas didn't add that high tier level of safety. And they're probably, Boo Carter's probably going to fetch a pretty penny for his services because he's, one of the better, he's an NFL quality safety. But ultimately, like Texas needs to add a safety. I like him. I also had Edwin Joseph, but I didn't want to have multiple Florida State guys on my list. But either of those 2 guys, a safety would be great.
Yeah, either of those 2 guys, Khalil Barnes, who's also from Clemson, I'd be fine with. Jordan Castile, who's a freshman All-American safety from Florida, I would be fine with. Like any of those guys are definitely takes for me at the University of Texas. We just need someone back there that's a good B- player that gets the job done and has, actually played real snaps in big-time football games. We don't really have that on the roster right now for the most part, other than Xavier Filsme. And honestly, he was very unimpressive to me other than the last 2 games of the season. So I don't really want to count on him next year completely. So I agree with that. Number 4 for me is Bo Masco, cornerback from Rutgers, 5'11", 185 pounds, 48 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interceptions, 4 pass defended. And this is a guy that, was recruited by Mark Orphy, who's now on the Texas staff at Rutgers. So I think this kind of fits perfectly. He's a big guy. When we talk about big nickel, he could be the big nickel in this system with Will Muschamp. 5'11", 185, put another 5'10" pounds on. We're talking 5'11", 190, 195 with pretty good ball skills. A guy that's super physical as well if you go watch him. So I think this would be a pretty good take for Texas if they could get him.
Bo Masco is actually my number 3. So you and I are aligned there. I really do think Texas needs to add a legit number 1 cornerback based upon just what we've seen this year. When Manny Muhammad was out, that pass defense, they didn't have a guy. They really didn't. Kobe Black showed up a little bit in the A&M game, but ultimately, like, they really don't have another dude at corner. And so I think they probably need to add at least another one. I'll throw another name out there just so we don't have them multiples. I also had Jay Crawford from Auburn is another guy who I'd like to see. He was kind of in my corner spot on this list. So either of those guys I'd love to have in Burnt Orange next year.
No, yeah, I agree. I think we need a number one, or at least, a guy that for sure is a number two cornerback. And then kind of decide in camp who's your number one between Cage Phillips, Kobe Black. I think Grayson Littleton's going to slide out, especially in a Will Muschamp defense to the outside. So that does help out a little bit as well. And then you got to transfer guys. So you have 4 guys competing for 2 spots on the outside, rotate if need be. I would be completely fine with that. Who's your number 3?
That was my number 3. So that was my number 3. Yeah.
Okay. JC Brown for me is my number 3, another wide receiver here from Kansas State. I have Malcolm Simmons, him both on the list. I think you got to get, one of the two, or at least someone similar to these guys. They're good, productive wide receivers, 41 receptions, 712 yards, 17.4 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns, 6 foot, 179 pounds. So again, not the typical early year start guys where we're talking 5'9", 5'10" burners, but a little bit bigger, not as fast, but really good production overall from both those guys. So I'd be fine with either one of them. And I think this is the kind of realm, again, that Texas is going to recruit in the portal of wide receivers. I think you're going to get a B overall wide receiver. I don't think you're going to get an A guy. And I think both these guys are kind of like similar C+, B- type guys.
Yeah, Texas needs that kind of guy. It needs somebody in the portal at the wide receiver spot. Again, I've got actually at my number 2, Omarion Miller from Colorado. Like that, I think Texas needs to add a number 1 wide receiver, and it's either him or Nick Marsh. I think would be probably the top 2 guys in the portal right now. And I think Miller fits more of what Texas is probably doing at wide receiver, 6'2", 210, but still has that speed to him. So I think he really fits what Sark wants. And I do think Texas needs to add a number 1 receiver. And so I have Omarion Miller as my number 2. Again, I don't think Texas is going to spend for what Miller is going to fetch in the portal, but ultimately you said wish list, right? So like, that's what I want.
I love Omarion Miller, so I'd love to have him. I could be wrong on this. I thought we did recruit him out of high school as well. I think we might offered him and he visited. I agree. I think he can be a really good wide receiver. He can probably be a wide receiver 1. And if he's not, it's a 1A, 1B situation with him and Ryan Wingo. That's all we really need, is someone to push Ryan Wingo so he doesn't have the case of the dropsies again. Like, that's my biggest thing. If Ryan Wingo for sure becomes a hand catcher next year, then we have our number 1 wide receiver. I trust Ryan Wingo as a number 1 wide receiver, but that's a big if, and I don't want to have those type of ifs going into the season for next year.
No, especially in Arch Manning's presumptive last year in Austin. Like, we need to have sure things at wide receiver for that guy.
My number 2 is Carius Kern or Kerne. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce his last name, but LSU, high 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He's going to end up being a 5-star out of the portal. 6'5", 320 pounds, played both sides of the ball in high school, defensive line and offensive line. So that to me right now screams positional versatility. He's listed as an offensive tackle, but a 6'5", 320-pound guard sounds fine with me. I think you can slide him in there to guard. I think he'd be perfectly fine. And guess what? My pitch to him would be, hey, we need a guard this year, but as soon as Trevor Gooseby leaves for the NFL after next year, you can slide right back out to tackle, and that'd be perfectly fine. Or you have him or Nick Brooks battle and see who's better at whatever position and put the other one the opposite of where one of them goes. But this guy to me has super high upside, and you have multiple years with him as well. That's another big thing I like in the portal. So I would love to land this guy from LSU.
Yeah, I had him. He was on my list, and then I pulled him off of my list just because Texas needs a legit inside linebacker or inside lineman, and especially because of the way that these guys have to pull, I haven't seen it from him. I don't know. I'm tired of watching guys pull who can't run in that way, and so that's why I didn't have him on the list. There aren't really a ton of good inside linemen in the portal right now. The only good one I think is already committed to TCU. So like that to me was so like I wanted to have an offense. I literally have it on my list as number 6. I want an OL, but most of them are tackles on my list. So like I had him on my list. I also had Ben Murawoski, or if you say from UConn, the other tackle. But again, I don't know if those guys can play guard in this system. Texas is fine at tackle. I need a guard, and so I don't know if either of those guys are an ideal fit at guard. So that's why I didn't have them on my list, which is shocking to most people based upon how I normally conduct myself when I talk about Texas's roster building.
I think that's completely fine, though. I was the same way, but I was like, I got to throw at least one offensive lineman on here, and I think he's the best one. But I completely agree. We need 2 to 3 guards, and right now there just aren't any, in my opinion, that are like, oh, yeah, you got to go get the guy. Now, will they get in the portal, guys? Yes. If you look at the history of the portal, you're going to have 10 to 15 good guards jump in. That would be an immediate upgrade over what we had last year and what we have now. So I'm not
Yeah.
super concerned about that, but right now they just don't exist in the portal.
I mean, for context, like if you look at most recruiting rankings, a guy Texas pushed out at guard is the 3rd best guard in the portal right now. So like that's kind of how you have to like evaluate this guard position. One of the guys above him already committed. So there's not a ton of good interior offensive linemen in the portal right now. They will be. There's still a lot of teams playing and a lot of teams that just stopped playing that will probably have dudes that jump in.
Who is your number 1?
Hollywood Smothers. Give me a running back. Texas needs a running back. He's the best one in the portal right now. I think Texas needs him. Again, I think probably Texas won't. This is one where I'm like, will Texas pay the premium for it? I don't know. They might. There are, again, other positions that they're going to have a lot of dollars attached to. But ultimately, they need somebody to run with Quintravian Weisner. And I think it's going to make Quintravian Weisner better if he has a guy like Smothers, if he has a guy that can run with him. And so ultimately, I think Texas needs to add another running back one in this room, and Smothers is the best one on the board.
I completely agree. He was my number 1 as well. Over the last 2 years, 1,500 yards, 5.9 and 6 yards per carry, and a total of 12 touchdowns. I think you'd be a lead back on a national championship team. That's something that I've been questioning for Trey Wisner for a while. I do think, with the stuff going on with Jaden Ball, I think Texas is willing to spend on a number 1 running back. I think Ball is the guy for them. And if he jumps in the portal, I 100% think he's going to come to Texas. I would ignore everyone else saying wherever other school he might go to. I think he would come to Texas. Will he? I don't know. We'll probably know by the end of the week if Jaden Ball is going to jump in the portal or not. And if he's not, then this is the guy you need to go all in on. Really, really good back from North Carolina State, a guy that could probably go in the NFL draft to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. So I completely agree with you. I'm all in on Hollywood Smothers if we don't land Jaden Ball, who, again, currently is not in the portal. These are current guys in the portal.
Yeah, again, like you said, if we did our wish list, Ball would probably be a number 1. He's been my number 1 since, I don't know, whatever week Texas played Florida, so week 6. That's where I've been. So like he would be number 1 on my list, but he's not in the portal. That wasn't the activity. So like Hollywood Smothers is a guy. And again, I think he's also a guy that could thrive in what Sark is wanting to do with this system. He's got the right and being able to have a 1A for Quintravian Weisner or Quintravian Weisner being the 1A. I think they both would be better for it. I think it's just great. And that's a selling point, I think, for a lot of guys. Hey, come here, get a lot of good tape at Texas, but also get like half of the carries you were going to get at NC State. Like that's what you sell this guy on.
No, 100%. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, with you said Jaden Ball. Yeah, ever since we watched him, we both wanted him. I was the same way. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any eligibility with Mike Washington from Arkansas. I was like, yeah, does that guy have any eligibility? Because I would love to have him if he does, but he does not.
He already get his COVID year?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing with eligibility. We don't know. All this stuff is fluid, guys. Like at some point, we will have the NCAA ruling come down, and it's going to be 5 years you will have no matter what. If you get injured too bad, you get 5 years. So I think that will be helpful because I think there's a couple guys, teetering right now that would consider coming back to Texas. I think Ethan Burke might come back to Texas if that was the case. Yeah. And maybe DJ Campbell if he's like a 6th or 7th round pick, but I think Ethan Burke would probably come back. But it'd be nice to have Hollywood Smothers. Honestly, if I'm being real, I would love to have Hollywood Smothers and Jaden Ball. Like that would be awesome, but I don't think they're going to do that.
No, and again, I've been a guy who's like, does Texas take 2 in the portal? But I know they're also trying to get some other guys that are already on campus some run at running back. So I don't, again, Hollywood Smothers or any of the elite running backs that are probably, again, there are guys that are playing right now or were playing this past weekend that will see their names hit the portal in the next 7 days or so. And then 7 days after that for the people that lose, this coming weekend. So there's a lot still left to be said.
100%. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate it.